another car review. Today we're riding around in a 1986 Porsche 944 2.5 liter. This is my cousin Blake's car. He's here with me today to drive us around in this thing because first of all, my parents won't let me drive thing, and two, I'm too scared to drive this thing myself. But this car has been in my family for quite some time. My uncle drove it when he first got it when it was about my age, and then it sat for quite a bit of time. Then he picked it up last year and he's nursed this thing back to health, and I mean, he's done a really great job with it because it's running strong just like it would have in 1986. There's a lot of plans for this car coming soon. He talked about putting a turbo on it, probably a Garrett unit. This thing is absolutely going to be a menace when it's finished. We've already got turning heads. I think he's got an awe factor with this thing right behind him. When Porsche did this car, though, it was probably like, this is probably, again, the most underrated Porsche ever, as you guys can see by the title. This thing is absolutely a blast. Having ridden in it before when it was still barely running, my dad drove it around right before he got a hold of it, and he got this thing going quick. So, I mean, this thing does a really good job here with power. She still pulls. But in 1986, they did several different variants of this engine throughout the car's lifespan. In 1986 in particular, they had a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine and a 2.7 liter turbo, which is probably where I think you're going to get the turbo from, the 2.7.
Yeah.
And then they did a 3 liter with the S models later on in the lifespan of this car. I think it was like 1989 is when they quit production of this thing. But all around, this car still functions really well. There's not many problems left with it. Most of it's just, just normal things that an older car would have. But this thing's gonna be absolutely awesome when it's finished. I can just tell. We're trying to figure out if this guy in front of us is like so surprised to see one of these things out here, or if he's just like, man, that's a cool car. This is definitely the most common Porsche, next to maybe a Boxster. You'd see more of these than you would Boxsters. What are you doing, kid? I thought the guy in the semi in my driving video earlier today that I filmed today was bad. That was nice. I've seen a lot of people do crazy swaps of this thing, but his plan for this car is to keep it all original, besides maybe the turbo, and that's really about it. I've seen people do LS swaps in this car. I've seen people do like flat 6 conversions. This thing, though, is going to be all original. Same 2.5 they have from the factory, and it's going to be an awesome little vehicle to ride around in. I've already got a feeling. This spot right here is actually where I did my first burnout. I was in the van with my mom in the car, and I accidentally hit the gas a little too hard going up that hill, and I spun for probably a good 5 minutes. It felt like, at least. This is everyone's favorite pull spot out here. He's still got it. She's still got it, that's for sure.
Right here.
Yeah, right here. My bad. I didn't clarify.
It's all good.
Corners very well, though. This thing is definitely the 240 killer that when Porsche made this thing. This was like right before this was right actually when the 240 came out. So this car fit into that kind of class with the 86, the 240, the Miata. This fits right perfectly in there, but this is the more like upgraded car you would see. Most of the time 240s, they're kind of ragged out, so they have cloth interior. This thing is leather everywhere, and I think it's probably the best out of that entire group of cars. And that's hard for me to say because I'm all about JDM. Oh yeah, that was sick. That just became lit really quick.
Wake the neighbors up.
They'd be like, what was that? Just go outside and see tire tracks all over the place. Yeah, this thing's still got it. From what I remember, this car definitely was not the same years ago. It struggled a lot more when my dad drove it several years ago, right before he got a hold of it. Back then, the brake booster was bad on it, the synthesizers were shot in the transmission. For the most part, that's been completely redone. It's got a fresh radiator. It's got the last fuel injector from Porsche that's left in the U.S., and it was all the way in California. And this is it. It's running on this car. And this car has definitely been like one of the crown jewels of the family. Most of the time, most of the family drives kind of lower end cars, except for a very limited few. Where we've got a 2012 Camaro SS in the family, got a 67. Then you get this in here, and it's just like our family drives some of the coolest cars out there. I think my family's got it good with cars. But this was a project car. It was a 1-year project. It was about about $5,000 or so to get it running perfect again. And this thing's actually fresh off some work he did today on it, where he's got new carpet and he's got wood trim in the back, which is really cool. That's something completely unique, is the wood and the wood in the back. But all around, this car is gonna be excellent when it's finished. This thing, I think he said something about wanting to turn it into a drifter, which will make it really cool because you don't see a lot of 944s in the drift scene. But I'm gonna bet this thing will probably easily keep up. And I love the pop-up headlights. I've always been a pop-up guy, and seeing them on a car in person and riding in one with pop-ups is just like that. This is nice. Definitely has more character than a majority of Porsches in the time period, besides maybe the 911 and the 959. Of course, no one out here probably has one. But anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning into this little car review. I'll probably cut the cameras when we get stopped, but this was a lot of fun. Thanks again to my cousin for bringing the car out, and we had a lot of fun with this thing. It's still a ball, even now. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Till it's over, love, till we lose control. Yep, there we go. Set to start recording, so I'll be ready to go. All I know is we gotta keep the music to a low because of,
I'm not gonna play anything.
Because I know copyright restrictions, all that lameness.